Jaya, looking at this current FX policy, a top diplomat said, for her investors, their worries about the Nigerian current forex policy. So, in your own analysis, how do you assess the current FX policy?
My own analysis, I'd say that Nigeria has come a very long way, because for a very long time, let's look at what has happened in the past 2 years. First of all, we've seen dwindling oil receipts, and that has been the major bane for Nigeria. That's what has caused everything that has happened in the past year. Nigeria is really exposed to one commodity, and if there's anything we've learned over the past 2 years, is that we need to hedge against that exposure. And because Nigeria really only gets foreign exchange from one commodity, a slight disruption in that commodity will be cataclysmic, as we've seen from last year. And for a while, the central bank had capital controls, and it was trying to control the exchange rate. And this policy by the central bank was exacerbating the effects of the slowdown in output for Nigeria. It was making it way worse than it was. It was increasing inflation because of the scarcity of FX. It was doing so many things. But then by mid last year, the MPC committed towards sort of technically devaluing the Naira, and the MPC basically committed towards a freer exchange rate. And what we've seen, for example, on the FMDQ, there's a market there, and then we saw some convergence last year, towards the end of last year, but I think this was mainly because oil rallied. Mm-hmm. And we've seen reserves in Nigeria, the CBN reserves, go from about 23 billion to currently 30 billion in under 6 months. So it's a testament to how important oil is for Nigeria. I feel like any growth in Nigeria is still going to be backed by oil. The exchange rate situation is still going to be backed by oil, because the only reason the CBN is intervening as much as they are right now is the fact that receipts from oil, backed by an increase in productivity in the oil and gas sector, because that's what they've seen. Okay. They're making more money off oil, so they have more dollars to intervene.
Okay. So it's about the revenue accretion, like you said, much is coming in. But there is an argument again amongst economists about, I have one economist that says we need to look at managed floating because we don't have much. And others said, float the Naira. What makes sense here?
The truth here is that it's not, many times, let's don't get away with the semantics. I think the fact is that we do need a structure which allows for price discovery. The reality is that central banks they involve themselves in the market one way or the other. You either use low interest rates, or you rather you sell dollars into. And I'll give you a good example. Sometimes last year you found that there was this so-called currency wars among developed economies. And we found that what they were doing was that all developed economies, what they did was that they were lowering their interest rates. It's also a way of getting involved in the market. But what we're simply saying is that let's have a structure which allows for market discovery, which allows where you can come in and go out. The principles of free entry and free exit also applies. I think that is key, because when you don't have that, it also creates this foreign exchange asymmetrics, provides arbitrage in the system. I do agree that we've come a long way. My colleague has said that. But the also fact is that we have a multiple exchange rates, which is a fragmented one. And it's still one way or the other will still affect our BOP, because you need a very strong, you need a very competitive exchange rate structure which allows people to come in and go out. And when you do that, it strengthens your BOP, your balance of payment. I think if you look at it for the last 2 years, we've had a negative balance of payment. And therefore, it's not so much about whether it's managed or floating. It boils down on getting the right structures. We've had also economies which have run managed floating, and also have also had the right kind of structures that allow people to come in and go out. So, but the truth is, let's get the right structure. It's not just about just having 11 different windows. You know, that doesn't help the structure.
Yeah. So there's need for clarity, and of course, let's have a robust structure. Now, Jaya, Q1 GDP for 2017 will be coming out by tomorrow. We expect tomorrow, but this week, what would be expectation from monetary policy side as we expect to see more recovery from recession?
Well, like I said earlier, any improvement in Nigeria's output is on the back of an improvement in efficiency in oil production, and that's what we've seen for the past 5 months.
Now we are for $53 per barrel.
Yeah, and then we're producing enough.
2 million.
About 2 million barrels a day, which is sufficient enough to see Nigeria not have negative growth in the first quarter. And like I said, it's going to be flat. It's not going to be overwhelming, but it will keep Nigeria. It will put Nigeria in the positive again. But then, if there's any lesson we've learned from the past 2 years is that we're too exposed to oil, and because now commodity prices, the price for oil is getting better, and we're getting improved. We haven't had any major disruptions in production, as opposed to last year where there were force majeures in like 3 different production areas. So the positivity, or rather the positive consensus that everybody's feeling, or rather that people like you are talking about, is simply because of oil. That's what it is. And I feel like we need to understand why it's like that, and not just say, oh, we're out of the recession, or we just need to understand that it's still backed by oil, and any improvement in Nigeria's bottom line is going to be driven by oil.
Yeah, that even brings the discourse around diversification, the RGP again. As we're going to be looking at this plan, diversification, is it really a robust one? You know that Saudi Arabia also has its national transformation program that's focusing on diversification from oil too.
Well, the truth is that we cannot diversify without having a very robust exchange rate structure, really, because it's it that demand determines your balance of payment. And the truth is also, you cannot also not diversify without taking into consideration your gross capital and your gross fixed capital formation, which is also key. So, but then I think the IRGP also had come up with the fact that it wants to address issues that boils down to supply shocks. That's why it wants to shift, wants to have this ensure that about between 30 to 35% is spent on capital infrastructure, such that all the infrastructural gaps are actually reduced. And that's key. Well, is diversification. Can we achieve diversification? Why not? We can. But then the truth is, we also need a more robust approach to it. You have to have a situation whereby foreign direct fiscal policy in itself can provide the kind of funds the kind of funds. And you also need to have an exchange rate structure that allows foreign direct investment to come in and go out. That is also key, because if you cannot have this alignment, it makes diversification very hard. And like we've always said here in ProShares, that you also, if you want to diversify, we have to shift from this obsession on nominal effective exchange rates, but to one that it is driven by your real effective exchange rate, because it's your real effective exchange rate really that drives the effective exchange rate, especially for an economy which wants to transit from consumption to more of a producing economy. And like we've always had this talk here, is that you look at countries like Singapore, or countries like the UK, which are service-driven economies, including Panama, is that they always want to have a strong nominal effective exchange rate. Now you look at a country like China, you look at a country like Japan, they always want to have relatively a weak real effective exchange rate. So we have to shift from a nominal effective exchange rate, which drives our effective exchange rate policy, to one that is driven by a real effective exchange rate. That's why, because the ERGP really did not specify the effective exchange rate path, it's still very hard really to determine how close we can achieve diversification, because diversification itself is also part of an open economy.
So thank you very much for your time, Tokwe and Jaya. And that is it for this pre-MPC 256th MPC meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And October Sebasekong, it's been nice having you watching us on this discourse. You can log on to www.proshareng.com for further updates, news reports, analysis, and also our dashboard to keep you abreast of economic indices and indicators. Till tomorrow, thank you for watching. Have a lovely day.